Okay, let's start quietly. So we still have some chairs there, here. Yeah, you can take some places, chairs from the co-working space if needed. Let's try to fit in. I'm very happy that we have so many people today. Happy to see you all. There is some space, there is some space, here is some space. So, let's start. So welcome to our May meetup. We're still trying to have meetups once per month. Sometimes we skip due to the amount of stuff happening, but last month we had a meetup here about the statistics and understanding what games is better to publish in what time and how many players are there in the market, all that stuff. The recording of that talk is available on YouTube. And this month we have Jordan talking about the release of his latest game. Yeah, he's hiding there in the corner. His release went quite well. I'm very happy for him. And that's what we all want here in Estonia, to have successful releases. And recently, I'm very happy that we had, as I understand, pretty good release of Bootstrap Island by Maro VR. And they're pretty happy with what's happening. And right now, Maro VR is expanding their game. If you don't know this project. Whoa. I haven't used this laptop for a while because I'm using the main one for the live stream today. Don't think that I'm using Edge. I'm not that bad. Like, it's okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so this game, it was, right now it's not a full release. It's in early access. And I know there is much more coming, and they're adding constantly new updates. So that's good. This project is quite big for Estonia right now. So then we had a very successful release, of course, of the Buckshot Roulette. Thank you so much, Buckshot Roulette. That release went extremely well. 100,000 copies in 10 days, and right now it's much more copies already. So I'm very happy for Mike, and they're working right now on the extension of that project. So at least a few success stories from Estonia. That's not much, but that's something. I'm so happy because recently, if you know, the industry is not in the best position. There are not so many new workplaces, and quite a lot of studios are having troubles. But we all see that at the end of this year, it will be again a growth, and we all believe in that, really. So all in all, I don't want to really spend a lot of your time. I just want to tell that we are right now in final negotiations to have a trade mission to Gamescom. So 10 studios at least will be represented at Gamescom. We will have our own space in business-to-business area. Then we will try to find a way to add additional business-to-client area. It's a bit more complicated, but still, all in all, we will have a trade mission of Estonia. Markets, to find investments, to find, I don't know, partners, marketing partners, anything that is possible to grow here in Estonia. Behind the wall, we're finalizing our class to have some courses there. We have meeting tomorrow with Enterprise Estonia, representatives from around the world. So person responsible for the market in America, in Asia, even in Africa. They're coming here tomorrow at 2:30, and we will try to think what we can do together, how we can expand. On weekend, we have another game jam. If some of you are free, you can come with us to Game Jam. We provide a place to sleep, maybe not the most beautiful place, but still, you can sleep there. No one will eat you, maybe. And some food and everything, so it will be quite nice. Game Jam at Jõhvi. And this is our first cooperation with Technopol, with Startup Estonia, so we're really trying new ways to cooperate. I just had a call yesterday with the Department of Space. And I'm like, wow, that's something new. And we're thinking to do something, some kind of maybe events, Game Jam, something, because they're interested to try Unreal Engine to create some kind of interactive games about space. I don't know, adventures on the moon. I don't know. We can try. At least we have Sky Roads from Estonia. You know, that's something. And we have Blastronaut. That's kind of space. So there is a lot of things happening. There are calls almost every day. There's it's just all takes so much time. When we have some kind of plan, it sometimes takes half a year, maybe several years to go through that plan. But all in all, there is always something happening. So that's all from me. Just wanted to tell you that we're doing stuff. Stuff is happening. It's a lot. Hope in summer will be a bit more quiet and we'll finalize some internal things. We still need to update the website. Some companies are missing, and soon we'll try to ask for some additional funding, and let's see what will happen. In any case, we were thinking with legal department of Enterprise Estonia to have small event in end of June. No, that's bad. Beginning of July, because I know 24th, jumping over the fire and all that stuff, getting drunk. So in July, maybe to have a specific event for everyone about legal questions in game dev. How to register your company, how to protect your IP, and all those things. We had meeting about this. We're planning this. I hope everything will go smoothly. We will have that. Then, at the background, I just got news that GameCan are actively planning a really big conference in 2025 in Pärnu. That will be really serious with international guests in cooperation with Enterprise Estonia and other big partners. So even if we don't have a conference this year, as we had last year, Moby Dick 2 or Game Wave before that, in 2025, we're planning to really have a big one, a good one. And in any case, if you have some ideas, you want some events, you want to do something, you can always write me. I hope I will answer you. Just a lot, but at some point I will answer you, yes, and we can do something. So, Jordan, I'm so sorry, but you will have to come here, and here is your presentation. It looks like it kind of works, and welcome.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jordan. This is how I feel when I do a presentation. Like I shouldn't really be up here. That's imposter syndrome kicking in hard.
Yeah, two successful games, of course.
Yeah. Some of you may have known or might know that I released a game called Rusty's Retirement recently, about a month ago now. And I just want to talk about the development and then the release. And it covers a bit of game design stuff, but also marketing stuff as well, which I think is important if you want to make a game by yourself and release it and hopefully earn money from it to continue making other games. That's me. That was perfectly timed. I'm Jordan, as I said. I previously made Haiku Robot, which is this little game. This was a big Metroidvania, which is basically like a platformer with a massive world that you can explore. So lots of art assets and all that sort of stuff I had to create. So I made it for PC initially, then I made it for Switch later, and then later on, I also made physical copies for the Switch as well, which is pretty fucking awesome because actually holding a physical copy of something you made it's just surreal. And this is Rusty's Retirement. So it's a bit of a weird game. It's an idle farming game that sits on the bottom of your screen. I'll talk more about it later, but that's basically it for now. So after making Haiku, this was so much art assets. This took about 2.5 years to make, at least, like 2.5 years full time, I would say, or maybe, sorry, 1.5 years full time, 2.5 years or to 3 years to make. It was so much work, lots of art assets, a lot of sound design, lots of music, lots of different enemies, lots of bosses, lots of systems, like, you know, the list just goes on and on and on. And it felt like at many times I had taken a bite that was too big for me to chew, you know? But somehow I managed to push for it and release it, and it did well. But I was basically thinking the whole time while making this game, like, I have got to make a smaller game next time, okay? Like, I am not making something this big anymore. So I was thinking I'm gonna do just prototypes with the goal of using maybe somebody else's assets, because I don't think there's any, you know, there's a bit of a stigma when you first start. You think, oh, everything has to be pure indie, like I have to make it, I have to make the art, I have to make the code, I can't use any plugins, I can't use any assets, all this sort of stuff. So this time around, the goal was like, okay, I'm gonna just use assets. I'm not gonna try and spend too much time on the art because it takes a lot of time, and make a shorter game. So I made a few prototypes. These took about 2 weeks. I give myself like a 2-week sort of time frame to just get some sort of gameplay loop going. And then I could get a feel of like, is this something that I could actually develop further or not? If you've seen any of my other talks, I think I did one back in February. I talked about this dream game, which is Skate Park Tycoon. It's where you can just build a skate park, and you know, you have like, it's basically roller coaster tycoon, where you build roller coasters and then people come to the park, go on roller coasters, but the same with skateboards and BMXing and all that sort of stuff. Because this is what I used to do when I was a kid. You know, I just live at a skate park all day. But when I made this, I felt like it was too complicated for me. Like, my skill set from going from making a simple platformer to this was just too big of a jump. So I kind of scrapped this idea, at least for now. I'm thinking this might actually be my next game, I'm hoping. Another prototype I made is this untitled dice game. It actually started as a game jam, which was really cool. Like, it was just a D&D inspired, turn-based roguelike, I guess. So you throw dice, you deal damage, and then like when you complete a floor, you get items that basically enhance your next runs, right? These are just all assets that I found, and it looks pretty darn good. And I was able to make this in like 2 weeks, just from like a concept, which was a game jam, which was like 2 days, and then this in 2 weeks. And I think that just goes to show you like how powerful assets can be. Of like, you can just pick something up that somebody's already spent hours making and just use it yourself. Unfortunately, I actually decided to make this game, like add more depth and add more stuff to it. I spent a few months making on, like expanding on it, but I really couldn't, I kind of got stuck at one point where the fun was just throwing dice and that was it, which is great for a game jam game because the game's only meant to be played for like 20 minutes, but like for a full game, it didn't have this sort of repetitive quality that a roguelike needs. So I ended up scrapping it as well. This is the third prototype, which I titled Idle Valley because we were basically thinking Stardew Valley, but idle. And this is a comment that I sent to a few friends where I was just like, it will sit at the bottom of your screen, you buy new land, buy new buildings, buy seeds, maybe even buy workers, you sell your shit, and that's it. That's the whole game. And at the time, it was pretty cool once you got it up and running, but I thought, who would actually want to play this? Like, it's a bit stupid, right? Like, just sitting at the bottom of your screen, like. Anyway, so I shelved it. I was like, that's a stupid idea. And I went back to my old bad habits. So I was like, you know what, maybe I should make another Metroidvania. I spent like 2.5 years cursing out that I shouldn't make a Metroidvania again, but I was like, it wasn't that bad, surely. So I started prototyping another Metroidvania. You can see here like different abilities. I took one of the characters from the base game, so it would kind of still feel like it's in the same universe and stuff like that. Tried out Godot because at that time Unity was having some drama. So Godot seemed like a cool alternative to make a platformer. And then I took like a 3-month break. But to be honest, in this 3-month break, I was working on the sort of dice game, advancing that a little bit, and advancing the Metroidvania. So the 3-month break was basically from this to this. So I came back to Rusty's, or the idea of Rusty's retirement, and fleshed it out a little bit more. And I thought, you know what, this is like actually pretty cool. Like it's kind of different enough that it could be pretty cool. So initially I was thinking, I'm just gonna make it a free game, keep it in the same universe as like the first game I made, and hopefully use it as like a marketing tool to say, this is a free game, it's just like some random sort of experimental game, but if you wanna like, if you like the world, then go check out my first game sort of thing. So that was kind of the idea of like, this could be a free game that helps promote my previous game. With any game, it doesn't matter if it's free or paid, I think you definitely need to promote it on social media. You need to get people interested in the game, because even if it's free and you don't have any wish lists or any traction behind the game, you could release it and nobody's going to play it. Like if nobody knows it exists, nobody's going to play it. So I did some social media posts about the game that sits at the bottom of your screen. This was the first one on the left side. I just wrote, this is a weird combination of farming, simulation, management, and idle game. And I saw that it got 750 likes. And compared to like everything else I post, even about my previous game, nothing ever got that much likes. From like just a random ass post with like a caption that I was like, what should I write here? Okay, let's just write this sort of thing. So there was a clear sign that this seems to be interesting, like it seems to catch people's interest. And then I just made a quote retweet of the same thing, because I was thinking, okay, I've got to make a Steam page for this. I'm not going to share more about the game until I have a Steam page, because if I have a Steam page ready, then people will at least know where to go to find out more about the game, to add it to their wish list, so that when the game comes out, they're notified about it. So I made a quote retweet just saying I'm setting up a Steam page, so like please wishlist it once it comes out, and that got even more likes. So it was the same video, like proven now twice to be successful. So I was thinking, okay, like I'm definitely not posting anything until I have the Steam page up. So I got Steam page up. I announced it with this tweet, which is this is basically like a TikTok format sort of video. I just posted that onto Twitter, and as you can see, it got like 1 million impressions, 10,000 likes. So like it completely blew up. Some people even quote retweeted it, and their quote retweets also got like 10,000 likes. Like it was insane. Same thing happened on Instagram. Same thing happened on TikTok. So in total, it was about 2.5 million impressions. So like this is definitely a viral post. I wasn't able to replicate this amount of sort of range again, but it was just good that I had the Steam page up for this viral post, right? And then within 1 week, I had 30,000 wish lists, which is insane. Like for comparison, I wrote down here as well. Haiku had 35,000 wish lists after 2 years. And it's probably even longer than 2 years, to be honest. So it's probably more like 2.5 years or 3 years of just the Steam page being up. So 2 years in comparison to 1 week is mind-blowing, at least for me, because I worked so hard for them 35,000 wish lists for Haiku, and this in 1 week is absurd. So what did that kind of tell me? I was thinking, okay, well, it seems like there's a lot of interest in the game. Let's scrap the idea of making it a free game, a very, very small sort of experimental game, and let's just go for it. Let's like make it a fully fledged game where I would feel comfortable asking for money, asking people for money. So we scrapped the idea of like making it free, and we decided to make it like a full game. I say we, but it was just basically me. I just don't want to do it. So I had to think of like, because I want this to be a short game, I have to think like of what are the core pillars of this game. So for me, it was these three things. It was a simple gameplay loop. So like on the surface, it looks simple. But for those people that want to kind of go deep and min-max, they call it like min-maxing stuff. So like micromanaging the state of the farm and stuff like that. It was possible, but it doesn't affect those players that just want to have like a nice relaxing experience at the same time. The second one was wholesome farm vibe. So just wanted to really capture that Stardew Valley essence of like, there's no pressure, you're building a community, you're restoring the farm. It was like rundown farm. Now it's like a nice, big, expansive farm. Like people live on your farm now, etc., etc. And then the third one, which I think was very important, was if it's a game that sits on your desktop, it can't be too distracting. So it needs to just be distracting enough for when you need it. So like you could be working on something, you have a block, and you're like, oof, I can't be able to do this. Instead of looking at your phone, you can just look still on your screen and do a little thing that would advance the progress in the game, but then you wouldn't be able to do anything else because you basically spent the money and done whatever. Things, which is plant crops. You wait for them to grow. I mean, you might have to water them because they could add water in between, but then you harvest them. You use those crops to produce something in the game called biofuel because everybody's robots and robotic, then you need some sort of energy source. Basically, biofuel is just another currency, so you have like gold and biofuel. And then with that money that you make, you can expand your farm and automate the process, which also feeds into that sort of idle gameplay loop. And that's it. So once you have more money, you plant more crops, you harvest more, you produce more. But they all have connections with each other. So this one was maybe I could add berries. So like not only do you have plants, but now you have berries where you have bushes and berries grow and stuff like that. How do the berries grow? Well, maybe bees could help pollinate the flowers on the berry bushes, and then that's how that sort of harvest system works. Maybe the bees could also go to a beehive and produce biofuel. So like, you have this sort of separate, like in these dotted lines, a separate gameplay loop in addition to the primary gameplay loop. So this is one example. Another example is when you expand and automate, you can build helper robots that will do the tasks like harvesting, watering for you. And you can build houses which unlock new features such as animals and livestock. So, you get access to fossils. Because the fossils is a bit weird. I'm just realizing that as I'm saying it. But because it's tied to the first game in the same universe, the first game took place in a post-apocalyptic world where humans and animals and biological life form sort of no longer existed. Yeah, I know. What? On Discord, maybe?
Who's calling me? I'm so sorry.
Should I open it?
Close down that.
You've got another update for you?
Someone, yeah. I've just decided to call me in the middle of the event.
So animals, once you resurrect animals, like how could that feed back into the main gameplay loop? Basically, they poop, and then you can collect the poop and use that as fertilizer for the crops, and then the crops grow faster. So again, that's kind of another sort of secondary gameplay loop that adds on to the first one. There's actually more than this, but I just wanted to show like 2 examples. The second thing was making the game wholesome and adding this wholesome vibe. So the first one, well, the main idea I had was all of these sort of additional gameplay loops can be blocked at the beginning of the game, and that kind of helps as an onboarding process for the game. So first you get used to the first gameplay loop, which is just Rusty's basic house. Then once you get to like that, once you're familiar with that gameplay loop, you can unlock another gameplay loop. So you build another house, and that character basically just unlocks that gameplay loop for you. And this kind of really, I think, feeds into the sort of wholesome aesthetic of you're no longer just building a farm for maximum efficiency and profit, but you're also building like a community on your farm. You have other inhabitants living with you and kind of cooperating and stuff like that. So this is kind of how it looks like at the end. You have like shopkeeper and a bunch of different houses and stuff like that. The third one was the small distraction. So like I said previously, like everything should only really take like 2 clicks. So to plant seeds, you just click on the crop, and then you just drag over the crop patches that you want to fill. Same with the buildings, the arrows moved for some reason. You just click a building and then you place it, and then your little worker will go over there and complete it. So these are basically like 2-step actions. It takes 1 click and then it takes a 2nd click, and then that's it, you're done. One thing I also wanted to mention is kind of last minute, I added this Twitch integration, which basically spawns you as a viewer onto the farm as like a helper robot, and you can control that robot via commands, like Twitch commands.
One of my friends is streaming right now.
Yeah, amazing. And this kind of acted as just a marketing tool where everybody's streaming it, and then people are like, oh, what's that game? And obviously, more people just find out about it, which is really cool. But I'm super happy with like how it turned out, because initially I was just gonna spawn a name on top of a robot and that's it. Like you can interact with it. But I think taking the kind of time to think about how the viewers could actually actively help on the farm really helped. And with the commands, there's commands like !plant. So that basically means your robot that's on the screen will now just plant seeds. That's all they do. And then you can change it to like water, or you can change it to harvest. So they will change their actions to like just water. And I think it's super cute. Like I tested it. I did like a test run because I was a bit like, I was like, the idea sounds cool and stuff. I think it's gonna work. So I tested it out with some people in my community, and it was just so cute, and it was just the most awesome thing. I think this is probably the thing that I'm most proud of in the game. Is just adding this little feature, because it is such a fun thing to do. Like as a streamer, to have your viewers actually have an impact on what you're doing in the farm is really, really cool. All right, so now this is kind of more the marketing side of things. So that was the game design-y part. This is more the marketing side. I think it's important, even if you are a small studio, to think about marketing, because it does help immensely. If you want to be successful and if you want to make money, and the only reason why you want to make money is to be able to continue making games, right? So I don't think you should be afraid of asking money. So short game again. Well, I already had the mindset of like, okay, we're still making a full game, but I still want it to be short. So I looked at the list of Steam events and sales, which is where I plan to release the game, which if you're making games, you should be aiming to release on Steam, just because it's basically a monopoly at this point. Like any PC games that get released go onto Steam. So it makes sense to try and market to the people that are already on Steam. And luckily, I don't even know how this was possible. God was on my side somehow, if you believe in all of that stuff. There were basically 3 events that I could apply to. So Capitalism and Economy Fest was the first one. And the only reason why I could kind of get into that was because the game's all about making more money to expand the farm. I kind of, wrote to Steam and said, hey, my game is kind of capitalist. Can you let me in? And they said, yeah, sure. So basically on these events, they have like a section where it says upcoming games. And that's the only reason why you want to apply to these events, is to be on that list of upcoming games. Because that will get you more wish list. People will see it. If they're interested, then they will add it to their wish list and then get notified once the game launches on Steam. The next one was Next Fest, which is basically a festival that they do, which is exclusively of demos. And you're only allowed to apply to one of these events. They do them 3 times a year. You're only allowed to apply to one in your whole game select. So it's really important to kind of pick the one that you think is going to do the best. And because I was hoping to have such a short sort of development cycle, then this one made more sense. I think there's one coming now, June. But that's too late. Like I was hoping to get it out sooner than June, so it's too late. So this was the best sort of next option. Then Dinos and Robots Fest, weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen. But all right, that one didn't do much because obviously it's so freaking weird. Nobody goes to games and think, oh, I want to play a dinosaur game, or I want to play a robot game. Like it's not doesn't really happen. But the Capitalism and Economy Fest was actually really quite successful because a lot of people do like to have this fantasy of earning millions, like in games and stuff like that. And then I saw the magic dust at the bottom where it says Farming Fest, and I was thinking, holy moly, the planets have aligned. Mercury's not in retrograde. This is great. Like there is not a more perfect festival for Rusty's retirement than Farming Fest. So I was just like, no matter what happens, I have to get the game out before this. So this is the wishlist sort of graph. I don't actually know why I added it. I added it to just show like the big boost at the beginning, which was the 30,000 wish list. What I did throughout the sort of development was still post reels on Instagram and TikToks. Funny enough, I didn't really have that much success on TikTok other than that one post. But reels were really consistent on Instagram, and Twitter was also really consistent. And I would just literally take the vertical video and post it on Twitter, thinking, oh, I should make it horizontal because Twitter is like horizontal. Didn't make a difference. The vertical videos on Twitter actually did better than the horizontal ones. So all of it was just like reuse and stuff. But I just wanted to show like the 30,000 wishes that I got from the beginning, all the way to like 138,000 wishes on launch. This is the day before launch. Were all due to participating in these events that I showed in the last slide, and just consistently posting on social media, showcasing stuff that would interest players. Like, hey, I added this. Hey, what do you think about this? Stuff like that. So the launch plan. Considering that we had this golden day with Farming Fest, which started on the Monday actually, the idea for me was to launch on Friday. So normally games cannot release on a weekend. I don't know if it's a Steam rule or if, I assume it's a Steam rule just because Steam doesn't want to work on a weekend. So if you launch your game on a weekend, something goes wrong, they're like, we're not working, So I assume it's because of that. So most games, well, in my opinion, most games should launch on a Friday or a Thursday, just to secure a sort of spot on new and trending. Because if no new games come out on the weekend, then that's 2 extra days that you're allowed to stay on new and trending. And new and trending is this section on the front page of Steam, which basically just says to everyone on Steam, hey, this is a new game and it's popular. So that was the goal. And funny enough, on the exact same day, the #1 most wishlisted game launched on Friday, which is called Mana Lords. It had something crazy, like 3.5 million wish lists or something. Absurd. They actually had the same strategy as I did. They were exactly launching on Friday, hoping to secure the new and trending spot for the weekend, and then go in with all of that momentum to the Farming Fest. So let's go to this one. So this is the Farming Fest page. This is right at the top, and this shows you like the most popular titles. And like this was the plan for me, and also, as you can see, Mana Lords. And interestingly, Plum Grove launched on the same day as this festival started, so it also worked for them. You just get put at the top. So now you're basically extending that potentially 3-day period, which is Friday when you launch, the weekend period. And then on Monday, games already start to launch and they start to push you off that list, off that new and trending list, because it is chronological. And it's only fair that if a new game comes out and it's popular, then it pushes people down the list and off the list essentially. So the idea is to use all that momentum from the weekend to go into the Farming Fest, which is, by the way, on the front page of Steam all week. So that's a banner that's there for all week. So essentially you're extending from Friday to Friday, and then you get these 3 extra days, because otherwise, from what I've seen, Steam only usually promotes your game for about a week on the front page. And then after that, they're like, okay, you had your turn. Now it's time for somebody else. So this kind of extends it for an extra 3 days. So you essentially get 10 days of visibility on the front page, which is pretty awesome. So this was the Farming Fest right at the top with Mana Lords, which is great. And then this is the new and trending tab that I was telling you about. One thing that I did not expect is to appear in this under €10 section, which is above the new and trending tab. And then the third thing I definitely didn't expect was I made a supporter pack, because on social media, once I announced the sort of price for the game, I said it's going to cost $6.99. People were saying, like, please let me just give you some more money, or like some sort of way of supporting the game, just because I like it so much. So I was like, okay, I'll put something up that's like, just a small little cosmetic, doesn't add anything to the game. It's not also expensive, it's just cheap. It's like an extra €3. And if you really want to give me more money, I'm not going to say no, you can buy that. But the side effect was that because the bundle of those 2 things combined also cost less than €10, I was basically twice on that carousel, and then here for a third time. So there was like 3 different entry spots for the game, which, I mean, that definitely wasn't planned, but I welcome it nonetheless. So with all this combined, Friday, the new and trending, and Farming Fest, I managed to hit 200,000 sales in 2 weeks, which is absurd. Yeah, I'm still coming to terms with it. But it's not all sunshine and roses, because post-launch, once you have like that many players playing at the same time, it becomes absolutely hell. So there was lots of bugs. Weird stuff like characters just wandering off onto the screen. Okay, that's cool. But that stuff honestly is like easy to fix. That's like the least of your worries. But there was this one particular bug that we've nicknamed the black screen bug. And it was basically the background, which is supposed to be transparent, where you can click and interact with your daily activities and stuff and do everything. The whole premise of the game was just black. And what made it worse was anything you clicked. So even if you clicked like one of these interactive items in the game, it would still go through. So it would still click on whatever's behind the game. So the game became completely non-interactive. Like you non-responsive. You couldn't interact with it, whatever. Looking back, this caused me so much stress. It's unbelievable. Luckily, Sam, who works in the co-working space, and Naum, who's not here, helped. But it was like such a specific thing that you had to like go to the executable file, right-click it, go to properties, go to the compatibility tab, and then click disable full screen optimizations, and the game will fix itself. But you can imagine trying to tell players to do all of that. And the sort of negative reviews came in pretty hardcore, especially from China. I don't know, they must just have higher standards. But it was so difficult to like communicate with the Chinese people to say like, hey, you need to do all of this, because a lot of their websites are blocked. So even if I sent them a guide, the imager link didn't work in China. It was such a headache. And the game at that point had gotten like the overwhelmingly positive tag. So you need 95% or higher of positive reviews to get that, and it's really difficult to get that tag. And I was just scared of losing that tag for some really weird, niche, obscure bug that only happened to like some people and not everybody. So yeah, the reviews started to go down, and I could see that percentage going down, and that was what really caused all of the stress for me. But luckily, now we fixed it. So I owe that man my life at this point. But apart from that, like all this little negativity and stuff like that, it kind of spawned a genre. Like I don't think this is a new idea, but the idea of like having a split screen sort of partial game that's on your screen while you do other stuff, I think is kind of new. And there's a few games that have popped out. So this is like a Sims version. I think the Sims version would be very cool, where you're working, but the little character on your screen is also grinding away, you know, earning that sweet cash. There's also some sort of kingdom builder, and then a fishing one. Yeah. Other cool stuff that happened. I was in such a state of just fixing stuff that I didn't really process all of this. It just kind of happened, and I was just like, okay, cool, gotta get fixing. So Devolver Digital reached out to say congratulations, which is, I don't know if you know who Devolver Digital is. Maybe raise a hand if you know who it is. Okay, shame on you if you didn't raise a hand. It's probably the biggest indie publisher in the world right now, but anyway, I'm only joking. Then Among Us as well. I mean, you've heard of Among Us? Yay! I don't know who Devolver Digital is, but no Among Us. It's good. And then also like the overwhelmingly positive tag that I mentioned earlier. Like now it's sitting at 5,000 reviews, and it's 96% of them are positive, which is mind blowing. Like, yeah, this is like the stuff you dream of, honestly, as like an independent developer, is just to make a good game that everybody likes. Like, you know, everything else is kind of secondary. The goal is to make something that everybody really, really likes. And people sent me stuff like this in, which is like super cool. I didn't even know this existed. Like I had seen the laptops with the little screen on the top, but I didn't know that they were making cases with screens. Which is really, really cool. Guess, yeah, new genre of just games on your literal computer case. But I think that's about it. So thank you, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
So, any questions? No?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there are questions. Woo-hoo! That's good. Let's have like 3, 4, not more, because we have another person who wants to showcase his game. Yeah. Okay. So, Jonathan, you can choose whose question you think.
Asher, right?
Yeah. Congratulations again. Can you tell me like briefly about your process of like testing the game? How you approach testing?
Testing.
Yeah, testing.
As as I was saying before, like the idea, like to have them core pillars, like game design pillars. Basically, whenever you make something, it's like, especially for the bottom one and the top one, it was very much like, because the wholesome farm vibe, it was more like a secondary pillar that I was just really hoping to hit. But the first one and the last one are the most important. So you just, for me, it was like you make something because it's impossible to plan everything perfectly before actually trying. You know, like you can have an idea, but until you make it and try it, you don't know. So it was a lot of iteration of just building and then thinking, how can I make this even simpler, or how can I make the action simpler, or how, you know, like how can I make the UI more intuitive? Just reiteration. And most of the playtesting I just did myself. And it wasn't until I felt like I couldn't make stuff simpler or easier. And at that point, then I was like, okay, I've pretty much done everything I can do. So then I can give it out to other people to playtest, and then you just see what issues they have. Because a lot of the time they have issues that you never even think of, just because you create the thing, right? So you know exactly what should happen when you click this button. And if you don't, then
you basically live with it, and like it's so easy to like have a blind spot in some issues that you might have.
But from my previous game, Haiku, then I kind of already have that community there, which I think obviously helped with when I posted it on social media. It's not like coming from an account with 0 followers and posting on social media. I already have that audience. So like all of these things, you know, from the previous game definitely helped. And I was going to add it to the presentation, but I didn't think it was actually needed. But I think it's very important, even if you do get like a publisher or something like that, to still build your own studio social presence. Like don't hand it all over to the publisher, because then they just build their own presence with your game. So like still try to have something that's yours. And for me, I think having a community that's mine is super beneficial for like you know, I just make a new game, post it, see what the kind of reaction is, and then decide if I should continue that game or not. So building a community definitely helps. And to answer what you said, like iterate until you're happy with it, and then give it to playtesters to see what things that you were blindsided by. Yeah.
So I want to ask. So you obviously were saving yourself of the profits you made in your previous game right now. So before that, how did you were like developing full time and like on what money basically?
Yeah. Like I have another presentation that goes into that sort of stuff for the first game, but the short of it is I ran a Kickstarter. So I started game development as like a hobby. I slowly got tired of my job that I was doing, which was just like a marketing job in a startup. And I ran a Kickstarter to kind of raise the funds to hopefully give myself like a year of development full time, and hopefully just make a living to be able to make another game and stuff like that. So Kickstarter is what I did for that, to get the funding secured for a year. Luckily COVID happened. I mean, luckily, I say that loosely. Luckily COVID happened, and that 1 year budget actually lasted like 1 year and a half, because we were just all sitting indoors. The only thing that I purchased, which was like lavish, was toilet paper, because everybody was thinking toilet paper is going to go out of stock. So that was basically my biggest expense.
One very short question. Also, are you working alone? Have you like bought any assets? Well,
So for Haiku, I did a lot of it all by myself. And that was kind of one of the lessons, I think, from the first game, is maybe you shouldn't do everything by yourself. And in this game, I bought a lot of assets. Yeah. I bought a lot of assets. I basically did the houses and the UI. That's it. That's all I drew. Everything else was assets, and the character animations were commission. And then also I contacted Lars to do the soundtrack, which I found out that people just straight away.
Yeah.
But I
You
was,
should have done that achievement though.
yeah, should do the
No, it's, you should find it here, but
It's very nice. It's very like soothing background
very soon
music, and it's also different. It's not so banjo-y because all the farm games are banjo.
in the beginning it was actually
Yeah, but that was like scared of the banjos.
for real.
I think I'm overtaking my question in this one, but no, I forgot.
Couldn't have been that important. I think we had a question just mine quickly.
Just a short one. First, did you finally use Godot? Or
No, I didn't. I'm ashamed to admit it. I was hoping nobody was going to ask that. I was just going to get that up there and then, scoop down the direct. Unfortunately not. Because, I only started game development like 4 years ago, I think. So I'm not really that good at making code and learning engines and stuff like that. So I was trying to switch to Godot, and I felt like it was just relearning all of that again was just a bit too difficult. So I was like, I'm just gonna stick with Unity for now, unfortunately.
And the other one is how, because I think it's really interesting for why so many people bought the game, is the price. How did you come up with like €7? Why?
So for Haiku, I charged 20, which was like above the average, like the market comparison for Haiku is Hollow Knight, which is €15, and that's a tremendous game that you're getting for €15. So I was a bit, I don't know what's the right word, but I was thinking, inflation, whatever, €20 sounds reasonable still, and also I can discount it so people still get a fair deal. For this one, and because that game did well, then I felt like for this one I could experiment with the opposite end of the spectrum. So instead of going more money, I was thinking, let's just try going less money. And it's funny that you ask, because I think Sam knows that I was constantly questioning what price I should price it at. I think it should be like 10, or maybe 8, maybe 7, maybe 6, I don't know. And when you get to that sort of granular detail, it kind of becomes irrelevant, I think. But somehow just my gut feeling felt like, I wouldn't mind paying €6 for this game. Because you always have to take into account discounts, right? So you should at least put 20% on top of your game, just so when you do discount it at 20%, it's still a price that you're happy with. So yeah, that's basically the gist of it. And also I use VG Insights, which there's Pontus over there who works there. It's an Estonian company that just does data on video games. And they have this really cool graph where you can choose your genres and subgenres, and it will kind of give you this analysis of all the games on Steam. It'll give you an average price, medium price, and all that sort of stuff. So I looked at idle games, and they were 0 to 5. Okay, but I was like, my idle, it's not really like an idle game. It's a farming sim and an idle game. So it's, I feel like it's more valuable than an idle game. And then I looked at farming sims, and they were 10 to 15. So I was like, okay, there's this in-between gap of 5 to 10 euros, so I'm just gonna pick the middle. And that's kind of, and it also felt good to me, when I was thinking, $6.99 feels like a good price. I think it did help contribute, yeah. It definitely feels like one of those impulse buys that I could just I won't buy this. And the funny thing is for my previous game, you can see the purchases in Steam, and then you can see the kind of people that boot it up, play it at least once, and there's a huge sort of, drop off. But for this one, it's a 95% of people that buy the game have at least opened it. So maybe that has a factor of, it's an indicator of it's a good price and it's a good concept, maybe. But I don't know, I just found that sort of statistic interesting, and I haven't really given too much thought onto why it is, but it's still pretty interesting.
I checked, the maximum was 21,000 people at the same time. The last one.
Yeah, so imagine bug fixing.
Awesome. Even Buckshot Roulette, the maximum is 8,000 at the same time. So 2 times.
Yeah, but I mean,
Those are different
it's an idle
games.
game.
That's the thing, but that means people use it.
It's just supposed to have it open for like
Yeah.
24 hours on your screen as well.
Yeah, everyone has like 500 hours paid. Whoa.
It's good for statistics.
Yeah, good for statistics.
And then I can make a small plug. He works in the hub and video game statistics. They work in the hub, so come to the hub. Work with us.
Sponsorship work.
I was gonna ask a question and
No, it was
I
my
forgot.
question.
what was the
Yeah, I got
You still.
No, I got my own.
I can have one more question.
Do you want to ask a question first? Okay. I wanted to ask it earlier and I forgot.
Max Higgin was going to ask his question.
I don't know, he keeps going.
Yeah, I really wait for critical.
Yeah. Go first. You go first.
Yeah, so it's about the testing. So how you deal with the test, for example, you have a pretty complex design. Your idle game have a pretty complex design as well when you're hide the robot. So for example, there is like how many gameplay hours you have in the hiding.
I don't know.
Like a 40, 20.
Haiku a lot of hours, but in this one even more.
Okay, so but the question is maybe you can
This one's
give-
like $500.
maybe you can give some advices how to solve that really complex problems after like this one.
This like honestly, this game was so much easier to make than Haiku. Like you think a platform was going to be easier to make, but this was actually easier just because of this sort of graph where everything's very contained in like a small loop. That's it. And in Haiku, for example, you have to worry with there's about 10 buttons on your controller. What if a player just decides to like press all 10 at the same time? Like what happens? Does the game explode or what? You know? Whereas that's impossible in this game. You just can't do that. Like it's very contained, very controlled, and it felt honestly so much better to make. And it's so much more fun to make. Just because, and when it comes to testing as well, it's easier because you know the bees only do one thing. They only go to berries and to the beehive. Like
Yeah, but
That's it.
how you can test it like in after 100 of hours of gameplay? How you can just go there and test this kind of situation, which is really hard to achieve by yourself.
Are you asking from like a technical perspective or more like a do I know if this is good?
No, I just wanted to hear some advice maybe for someone.
Well, dev tools help. I had this typical The Sims 4 cheat code system where I put like another load and then it just gives me a bunch of free cache, speed up time, slow down time, stuff like that.
Okay.
Because then you don't have to sit there for actually 24 hours to wait for the thing to happen. You just like
Exactly.
press accelerate and it just goes fast forward.
Mhm. So you just fast forward talk about game.
Yeah, so for this is, and that's sort of, if I understand your question correctly, then yeah, it's just like fast forward button. Basically a minute was like a second for me. It was like times 60. You know, everybody was just basically teleporting around the map at that point.
Nice. Okay.
Okay, I think it's really a lot of time already. 7:30 almost. One question. Yes, I know.
We can ask Lars here in the front.
Yeah, one question, and let's continue because people will fall asleep.
I got questions written. No, you're using Unity Analytics, right? With the game, this one or not?
I was.
Okay, you don't. Because I wanted to ask because you mentioned that the number of players, which makes sense after a while, it drop. So I was wondering because also you mentioned that 95% of the people who voted played it.
But that's from Steam Analytics.
Yeah, but I was wondering if you have an idea of those that after drop, like how many approximately percentage of those that actually played all the way to the finish and did all the crops and all the levels, or did they just stop?
I mean, I haven't looked at it, like done the calculations, but could calculate it from Steam achievements, I'd assume.
Yeah.
So you just look at, like, because there's some very basic achievements that you get at the beginning, like unlock a new crop, like that's, you get it within like playing 5 minutes of the game or something, you know, so you can compare that to the last achievement or some other achievement, just kind of see what the drop off is.
Well, you haven't checked it.
I haven't checked it because, you know, I'm trying to look into my mental health. Especially after the bug fix, you know, it's pretty low at the moment.
It's another game on its own.
But the Unity Analytics thing, I was using it, and I think I had some sort of error in my logging. People were reporting the 50 gigabyte player log files on their, you know, main hard drive, and they were pretty pissed. So I had to disable just the login just to be safe.
That's already a good tip. We put an achievement, a Steam achievement for finishing the game, and then we can tell you.
Yeah. I mean, you put a very basic one at the beginning, but you know, like most players are going to hit. Then you can just compare it to the last sort of achievements that you had. All right, I guess that's it then, yeah.
Thanks. Yes, other people, they can ask you later.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, sorry, don't want to be the rude guy, but I know from my experience that when questions are continuing for too long, the people at the back, they kind of start, like dying. So, okay, you wanted to showcase your game? Is it on your laptop?
Yeah, it's with me, but I will just plug it in.
You just plug it in, yeah. He just told he wants to showcase his game. It's not, if someone wants to showcase something here, it's always open. Yeah. It's like tradition. So if you have any kind of prototype or any kind of idea, you can always come here, just put it here, and people will critique you. And you will cry. Boy, you're even with you're prepared.
Yeah,
You are prepared.
Okay. Wait a second, I just need to check out.
Okay.
There is no board.
Yeah, check the port. Yeah, that was the same problem with me when I was turning on. I'm like, oh, shit, did I close everything?
We just need to download the last.
Okay.
What is white side
I phone.
It's a state. Fucking sweet.
How you know, oh shit, I made the music. There are some drinks still, juice, water, something else. Wine maybe still there, and some snacks, but not much, but something.
At the same time, like the owner of Spotify is like, yeah, look for me. This is the kind of experience.
If what, you can explore the whole hub. You can move there, here, like it's a big space.
So,
Oh, here's the game.
wait.
Me?
Yes.
No. Let's put someone else.
Just wanna see
Give it to
how-
someone else.
Oh.
Yeah. No. Yes. Come on.
Is it connected?
Yeah.
Yeah. but
Okay.
it's a cinematic.
Like real-time test of a game. Let's check.
Is it your fear? Okay, good. Just checking. Where's my? Oh.
Skip the cutscene.
Yeah, there is a lot for
It's a music kid trying for an internship. What we do?
Yeah, the cursor is part of the experience. I remember from NES Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. It's like this looks really like.
Oh, you're already there.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Perspective thing.
What is this? Developer commentary.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, there is a mini game.
Oh, it's a crafting system.
Crafting system.
At the moment, no. Only on the first of all. But yeah, in the future, we'll able to.
No cursor anymore.
I can believe that you.
AX.
But have you tried A?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you got it. Yeah. But you need to have this blue bar.
Yes. Sunrise.
Oh, there is a B button in the meter. Yeah, it's really early stage. We don't have any sound.
So I have feeling one is when I feel bad, it's not.
Maybe some bugs.
That's a lot of enemies. At least I like that they're politely waiting.
What can be funds? Is it just for the score?
No, there is a vending machine. I think, yeah, I think that is one. Go into the circle, press something. Yeah, now you spend all the money.
You're poor now.
But I'm just on this.
Yeah, this one is
So the best day
you need to have a full slower bar. But this guy he's pretty strange. This is kind of awesome. But without sound.
You die.
Everybody else
No, okay.
Yo, давай.
Yeah, go.
So, they come
What is the weird music doing?
It's almost like the bottle of back.
Wow, he's a professional! What?
I think you can see
I'm just thinking.
wow! There is an option is you will go times, right?
Wow!
So you can.
That was an unexpected boss.
Yeah, we changed everything every day.
Yeah, what's happening with the jump? Why is it so quick?
It's slow, yeah, it's really slow. Yeah.
You can, but the physics of the jump
You don't have any games.
very fast. Well, okay, but still, that's
Yeah, but the thing is, trying to make a really
but the jump is very
yeah. I know that it's never an issue. No, we're just trying to move forward really fast.
okay.
This one. This is just external animation. Only when you take the people.
So I think for official part that was not tested, yes? No, I'm just telling that people can, we're finishing. Let's listen to commentary or what.
Yeah, I would love to see how people play.
Well, in any case, people can continue playing. It's just then we can finish the official part and let people hang around and talk. That's the thing. Okay, so if you have any comments about the game, you can talk with the creator. Creator is here. He's listening to all the comments. This is alpha build, as I understand. Yes.
This is not the alpha even, it's a prototype.
Prototype. Yes. Prototype build. So that means that we're right now finishing the official part. I will move everything around. You're free to go everywhere. You can free to go to other parts of the hub, talk with everyone, talk with the presenters, and that's all. And the place is open until the last person leaves. So maybe in a week. Yes. Okay. Thanks.
The one on the last lesson,
we can build the